Hello, people. My name is Detroit Miracle. I am here to do a video film about Tupac Shakur. So I will title this very film Tupac, the greatest rapper of all time, with a question mark. You notice that I put a question mark at the end of the video title because it's debatable. Yeah, there are different people who have their own ideal rapper who was deemed perfect by their standards. Yeah, many people feel and believe that Tupac Shakur was and is the greatest rapper of all time. But you have other people that believe that Nas is the best rapper of all time, or Rakim of Eric B. and Rakim. Some even feel that Kool G Rap is the greatest rapper lyricist that ever lived. And I know this is too easy. Da 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 da. There are even people who think that Jay-Z is the greatest rapper of all time. Yes. And lastly, there are folks who believe that the notorious B.I.G. is the greatest rapper that ever lived. Yeah, but right now, this very discussion topic is centered around the late, great musician called Tupac Shakur, or Tupac. Okay, everyone who listens to music and specifically the rap genre can appreciate different artists with the sounds that they bring to the listeners. Yeah. And at the same time, there are a number of rappers who stand out amongst a vast selection of rappers. Then you have to figure in that there are different coasts of sounds. Like there's the New York coast, or the East Coast. We know rap was birthed in New York, so people refer to New York as the East Coast for rap. But here in Detroit, we've had many great rappers here too who have made some noise in their own regard. Yeah, but and then at the same time, there are rappers from Detroit that made it out, much like Tupac Shakur. Now we got rappers on the West Coast, LA, all down that way, Oakland, the Bay Area, and we have rappers from the South. You notice that all of those coasts have their own type of style in general, where their music is focused on that in which they come from, which makes it distinguishable between other types of sounds. Now, with Tupac Shakur, he was a great artist. He could rap to any type of music of any sound, and that is proven. He could do an East Coast album. In fact, he's done about 3 East Coast albums. He can do West Coast albums. He's done at least a few of those as well. We never heard him do a Southern album, and that was unfortunate because I think Tupac could have rocked that type of sound. I mean, like from Cash Money Records, 3 6 Mafia, and No Limit Records. Wouldn't it have been amazing to have those producers hook Tupac up? It's unfortunate that we won't get to hear that. Hey, but maybe we will. Okay, with that being said, we know Tupac was multi-talented that way, where he could adapt to any type of sound and attune his lyrical flow to it. He did it successfully with West Coast sound and West Coast albums, and he did it successfully with East Coast records. We know that. And he rocked it on the West Coast with Death Row records. We know that the fans were screaming for more and more. We know that we know Tupac initially for Death Row made a double album, All Eyes on Me. Then he made Machiavelli, the famous theorist. And Machiavelli did a lot of other stuff too. Apparently, Tupac was intrigued by him so much that Tupac took on his name, he took on some of his persona, and he took on some of his mystery, you might say. And what made it really apparent is at the time of his death and the whole Machiavelli theme, which was the album involving Illuminati. We know that. Well, now getting back to the main topic for discussion, was Tupac Shakur the greatest rapper of all time? I must answer by saying yes. Yes and no at the same time, because many people believe that he is and was, but many people believe that he isn't and wasn't. So everybody can have their own perception and choice regarding who they feel is the greatest rapper of all time, and no one can be wrong based on their own preferred choosing of a best personal or someone who is motivationally inspiring to them. Like, for example, somebody could have like their all-time favorite painter, sculptor of all time. Somebody can have their all-time favorite basketball player. But people do not, as a whole, everybody does not agree with that, because everybody is entitled to their own beliefs and their own envisioned perfect artist, sports figure, musician, writer, and etc. So Tupac is the greatest rapper at the same time, and that is backed up by many people who feel that way. But he is not the greatest rapper of all time based on how others feel about who they picked instead of him. And everyone is entitled to their opinion and their belief, and they are allowed to have that. Now, a case in point that backs up the fact that Tupac Shakur was the greatest rapper, artist, musician of all time within the rap genre of music is, you have to look at his sales, his total complete all-time sales of albums or records. And he has sold over 100 million records worldwide. And then compare that to other great rappers who people feel are the best. How many records did they sell? But album sales are only one way to measure the greatest. And Tupac, like that's too easy to say, oh, he sold 100 million albums, so he's the greatest rapper of all time. It is and it ain't. But we know that besides selling that many albums, Tupac Shakur could make an album in under a week's time. And there are not too many rappers that have ever done that successfully. I mean, Tupac, it takes him a week. They said he was a virtual musical genius prodigy at writing lyrics. They said he could think of a whole song while being in the studio just by hearing a beat. If he hear the music to it, it inspires him enough. He could just come up with the lyrics right on the spot. That's why they said he did All Eyes on Me, the double album, within a week's time. And they said he was a workaholic. They said he could make upwards of 3 finished songs per day if he chose to. They said his work ethic was beyond belief. They said, I think Suge Knight described Tupac as being a machine. And he said he compared that to the fact that Tupac was unlike any other artist as far as his work ethic went. Like Suge said that other artists would come in, they would party, get with the women, smoke weed, play around a bit. But those artists still would do what they had to do and take care of business when it all came down to it. But they said Tupac came in there and he was completely serious in the studio and he was about his business. They said he took care of business every time he came in there. And he said, I intend upon doing at least a couple of songs before I leave. And then he was about the sound. He knew how to ingratiate the perfect sounds into his lyrical content. Yeah. So you figure in and factor in those things into him being called the greatest of all time as well. Yep. If it sometimes the case will be where an artist such as Tupac is so great that he even makes the music making process look easy. But it really isn't easy. It is still hard, but nevertheless, he makes it look of relative ease because many other people in the millions could not do it as well as he has and had previously. So, yeah, folks. So, the moral to this story is Tupac is the best ever at what he did. And there are many others who are the best ever at what they did. Okay, folks, I'd appreciate it if you would give me those likes, comments, and feel free to subscribe to my channel.